In January 2026, the President of the United States bought stock in a company. 1 week later, his government changed a policy that made that company billions of dollars. The stock went up, the trade made money. Most people never heard about it, but that was not the only trade. It was not even close. In just the first 3 months of 2026, while managing the most powerful country on earth, Donald Trump's financial accounts made 3,642 stock trades. That is 63 trades every single day on the days he was meeting foreign leaders, on the days he was signing new laws, on the days his government was making decisions that directly affected the companies he was betting on. And the pattern kept repeating. Buy the stock, the government acts, the stock goes up. There is one word most people would use when they see a pattern like that: insider trading. But here is what makes this story different from every other financial scandal you have ever heard about. What you are about to see is not illegal, and the reason why is more disturbing than the trades themselves. Before 2026, Trump's accounts were quiet. For most of 2025, his trust was buying municipal bonds. These are basically loans to local governments, school districts, gas companies. Safe, boring investments. About 5 trades per day. Nothing that would raise any eyebrows. Then January 2026 arrived, and in the very first week, the accounts made nearly 500 trades in 5 days. Almost all of them bets on individual company stocks. By the end of March, the total reached 3,642 transactions across more than 1,000 different companies, worth somewhere between $220 million and $750 million. To understand what 63 trades per day actually means, think about it this way. A professional hedge fund manager, someone whose entire job every single day is picking stocks, makes far fewer individual trades than that. These are not broad bets on the whole market. These are specific targeted bets on specific companies, 63 of them every single day from the Oval Office. So, what was he buying and what was his government doing at the same time? Because this is where the story gets uncomfortable. NVIDIA is the company that makes the chips that power artificial intelligence. By early 2026, it was one of the most valuable companies on the planet. On January 6th, the first trading day of the new year, the accounts bought up to $1 million of NVIDIA stock. 1 week later, the Trump administration changed a government policy that had been blocking NVIDIA from selling its most powerful chips to China. China is one of the biggest markets on earth. Opening that door was worth billions to NVIDIA. The stock jumped. The trade that had been placed 7 days earlier made money almost immediately. Buy the stock. Change the policy. Watch it go up. Now, here's Oracle. Oracle is a large American tech company, not as famous as Apple or Google, but enormous and heavily dependent on government contracts. During the first 3 months of 2026, Oracle was purchased 17 separate times, not once, 17 times. It was the single most frequently bought stock in the entire portfolio. And during that exact same period, behind closed doors, the Trump administration was working on a deal for Oracle to take over TikTok's American operations, a deal worth billions. While those conversations were happening inside the White House, the accounts were buying Oracle again and again and again, 17 times. And then there is Amazon. This one is the hardest to explain away. On September 23rd, 2025, the accounts bought between $500,000 and $1 million of Amazon stock. Now, remember that date because September 23rd was not a random Tuesday. That was the exact same day, not the week before, not the day after, the exact same morning that a federal trial began against Amazon. Trump's own government, specifically the Federal Trade Commission, had taken Amazon to court. They accused the company of secretly tricking tens of millions of ordinary people into signing up for Amazon Prime memberships they never wanted and making it almost impossible to cancel. A serious case, potentially billions in penalties. And on the morning that trial started, the accounts bought the stock of the company being prosecuted by the same government. 2 days later, the trial ended. Amazon settled. They paid $1 billion in penalties to the government and $1.5 billion in refunds to around 35 million affected customers. The case was closed. The stock held its value. The trade was profitable. Buy the stock of the company your government is prosecuting. Watch the case settle quickly. Walk away with a gain. Now, Dell, this one is different because Trump did not just buy the stock and wait for a quiet policy change behind closed doors. He made the move himself in public. In February 2026, the accounts purchased between $1 million and $5 million of Dell Technologies stock at around $126 per share, a big position. Then on May 8th, Trump personally signed his financial disclosure form, the document that would eventually reveal all these trades to the public. And that same day, he stood at the White House and publicly praised Dell. He talked the company up in front of cameras. On the record, Dell's stock hit an all-time high of $469. From $126 to $469, a gain of more than 200% from the price the accounts paid. The man who owned the stock publicly promoted the company. The stock went up. Nobody called it an advertisement. And then Palantir. If you have not heard of Palantir, here is what they do. They build data and surveillance technology for governments, tracking systems, intelligence software. The kind of tools that government agencies pay billions for. Their entire business depends on winning government contracts. In February 2026, the accounts bought Palantir stock. Shortly after, the Department of Homeland Security, which is part of Trump's own government, awarded Palantir a blanket contract with a ceiling value of $1 billion. $1 billion from the government run by the person whose accounts had just bought the stock. Palantir's price moved accordingly. And those were not the only companies. The accounts also traded Meta, Microsoft, Boeing, Adobe, Procter & Gamble, and dozens of others. Company after company with active government contracts, ongoing regulatory cases, or decisions sitting on the president's desk, all of them showing up in the portfolio. All of them receiving government decisions around the same time those positions were being built. CBS News built a public database of all 3,642 trades and published it online for anyone to search. Their data journalists spent weeks comparing every transaction against government announcements, policy changes, and contract awards. The pattern they found was consistent. Positions entered shortly before the administration made moves that directly benefited those companies. This was not a political opinion, it was a data project. You can go look at it yourself right now. And the disclosure that revealed all of this, it was filed late. Every single transaction in the document is flagged as reported after the legal deadline. Trump's accounts paid penalty fees for late filing. So not only are there 3,642 trades with suspicious timing, the legal requirement to even tell the public about them was not met on time. At this point, you are probably asking the obvious question, is any of this illegal? And here is where this story flips completely. There is a law in America called the Financial Conflict of Interest Statute. It says government officials cannot make decisions that benefit companies they personally own stock in. A defense secretary who buys defense company stock and then awards that company a government contract commits a felony. A treasury official who owns bank stocks and then makes decisions that help those banks faces prison. The law was written specifically because mixing personal money with government power is corruption. Simple and clear. It covers thousands of officials across every level of government. But the law has one gap, one very specific gap written directly into it. It does not apply to the president or the vice president or members of Congress, the three most powerful positions in the entire United States government. The law specifically excludes. Richard Painter was the chief ethics lawyer at the White House under President George W. Bush, a Republican White House. He said it plainly. If a president can change the price of a stock through his official decisions and he owns that stock, that is a conflict of interest that should be prohibited, but it is not, because nobody ever wrote that rule for the presidency. Every president since Ronald Reagan understood this problem. So they all did the same thing voluntarily. They either sold all their stocks or put their money into a real blind trust. A blind trust means an independent person, someone with zero connection to the White House, controls all the investments. The president does not know what is being bought or sold. They cannot give instructions. There is a wall between their decisions in office and what happens to their personal money. Trump set up a trust, but his children run it. The money still belongs to him. The gains still flow to him. There is no wall. The White House says this is fine. Outside financial advisors make the decisions. Trump himself is not involved. He does not direct the trades. The documents include notes saying trades were unsolicited, meaning brokers initiated them, not Trump personally. But think about that for a moment in simple terms. Imagine your financial manager is handling your money. They know you are the president. They know which companies your government regulates. They know which industries your administration is focused on. They can read the news like everyone else. They can see which companies are about to get government contracts. Are they going to ignore all of that when they invest your money? Or are they going to use it? That is the question nobody in Washington has answered. And here is the detail that makes everything land differently. Earlier this year, in the State of the Union address, Trump stood in front of the entire country and called for a ban on stock trading by members of Congress. Both sides of the room stood up and applauded, Democrats and Republicans together, because everyone agrees it looks corrupt when elected officials trade stocks using information from their government jobs. He called for transparency. He called for accountability. He said politicians should not profit from their position. He just did not mention that no such rule applies to him. He did not call for one. He did not suggest the ban should cover the presidency. And in the 90 days before that speech, the accounts had made 3,642 trades. So here is the question this video leaves you with. Is this insider trading? Legally, the answer is no. The law says so clearly. But is a system where the person with the most power in the country is also the one person that law does not cover? Is that the system working correctly? Or is that the system showing exactly what it was built for? Let me know what you think in the comments. If this breakdown was useful, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We are going to keep following the money. I will see you in the next one.